Chapter 34 of The Night Horseman. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Night Horseman by Max Brand, Chapter 34, The Acid Test. In the living room below they heard it, Dan and Kate Cumberland. All day she had sat by the fire which still blazed on the hearth, replenished from time to time by the care of one Lou. She had taken up some sewing, and she worked at it steadily. Some of that time, Dan Barry was in the room, sitting through long intervals, watching her with lynx-eyed attention. Very rarely did he speak, almost never, and she could have numbered upon her two hands the words he had spoken. Aye, and she could have repeated them one by one. Now and again he rose and went out, and the wolf dog went with him each time. Towards the last, Black Bart preferred to stay in the room, crouched in front of her, blinking at the fire, as if he knew that each time his master would return to the fire. Then why leave the pleasant warmth,
having 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 funny horns, 10 crowns.
There he remained, stirring only now and then, to lift the clumsy paw and brush it across his eyes, oddly human condition. Once or twice also, he lifted that great scarred head and laid it on her face, looking curiously from her busy hands to her face, and from her face back again to her work, until, having apparently assured himself that all was well, he dropped his head again and lay once more motionless. She could see him open a listless eye when the master entered the room again, and with each coming of Dan Barry, she felt again surrounded, as if by invisible arms. Something was prying at her, striving to win a secret from her. As the day wore on, a great singing happiness rose in her throat. At about the same time, she heard a faint sound, impalpable, from the farther side of the room where Dan Barry sat. He was whistling. A simple thing for a man to do, to be sure. But the astonishment of it nearly stopped the heart of Kate Cumberland. For in all her life, she had never before heard him whistle except when it was in the open, and preferably when he was astride of the strength and the speed of Satan, with Black Bart scouting swiftly and smoothly. But now, he whistled here by the warmth of the fire. To be sure, the sound was small enough, but there was such music in it as she had never heard before. It was so thin that it was almost ghostly, as if the soul of wild Paganini played here on a Yukon violin. No tune that might be repeated, but as always when she heard it, a picture rose before the eyes of Kate. It wavered at first against the yellow glow of the firelight. Then it quite shut out all else. It was deep night, starry night. The black horse and his rider wound up a deep ravine. To one side, a bold mountain tumbled up to infinite height, bristling with misshapen trees here and losing his head against the very stars. On the other side were jagged hills, all carved in the solid rock. And down in the valley, between the mountains and the stars, blew a soft wind, as if that wind made music. They were climbing up, and now they reached, the music rising also to a soft but triumphant outburst, a high plateau. They were pressed against the heart of the sky. The stars burned low and low. Around them, the whole earth seemed to prospect at their feet. The moon burst through a massive cloud, and she saw far off a great river running silver, happy, high, and he was happy too, and his happiness was wonderful. He was not even scared, but his eyes were fixed steadily, unchangingly, upon her face. It was then that they heard it. Dan Barry, come out. A hoarse, ringing cry, as of one who is shouting against the great wind. Dan Barry, come out. Dan Barry was on his feet and gliding to the wall, where he took down his belt from a nail and buckled it swiftly. And Kate ran to the window with the wolf dog snarling beside her and saw standing in front of the house, his hat off, his black hair wildly tumbled, and 2 guns in his hands, Buck Daniels. Behind him, the tall bay mare shook with her panting and glistening with the sweat of the long ride.